Before we go any further, if you value historically proven farming plants that quietly outperformed modern inputs long before plastic mulch and imported amendments existed, subscribe to the Farm Logic channel now. What you are about to hear explains how a nearly forgotten berry plant functioned as a living soil shield for centuries, protecting fields from erosion, moisture loss and nutrient collapse in ways loose mulch never could. This plant was not planted for convenience. It was planted because entire farming systems depended on it. Why ancient farmers trusted living ground cover over dead material. Across medieval Europe, the Caucasus, parts of Central Asia, and even Highland Asia, farmers observed a hard truth. Loose mulch blows away, washes downhill, rots unevenly, and must be constantly replaced. Living plants, when chosen correctly, stay put. They grow thicker under stress, bind soil with roots, and regulate moisture dynamically. Among the most valued of these plants was a low-growing, spreading berry, commonly known today as wild alpine strawberry, woodland strawberry, or its regional relatives. Now, why this berry plant was planted for soil first and fruit second is, well, quite interesting. Ancient texts and field reconstructions show that this berry was rarely planted in rows like modern crops. Instead, it was woven between orchard trees, vineyard edges, terrace walls, and grain borders. Its shallow but dense root mat locked topsoil in place, while its runners formed a continuous living carpet. Rain that would normally splash soil particles loose instead struck leaves, slowed, and infiltrated gently. Mulch covers soil passively. This plant actively defended it. Why the root structure mattered more than the leaves. The plant's true power lay underground. Rather than sending one deep taproot, it produced a fibrous web concentrated in the topsoil, precisely where erosion and evaporation do the most damage. These roots held soil aggregates together, preventing crusting and compaction. Fungal networks thrived in this stable environment, improving nutrient exchange for nearby crops. Modern mulch suppresses weeds but does little to build structure. This berry plant created structure year after year. So, why did moisture retention improve without suffocating the soil? Well, it's really down to the way the berry canopy worked. It managed to keep the soil moist, but crucially, it didn't seal off the earth beneath it. You know, one of the great failures of heavy mulching is oxygen restriction. Thick layers can trap moisture, sure, but they also create anaerobic conditions, which is not ideal at all. The berry canopy, though, shaded the soil while still allowing airflow, which made quite a difference. In the mornings, dew condensed on the leaves and then dripped slowly to the ground. This extended the availability of moisture, but importantly, it didn't lead to waterlogging. It's a subtle effect, but it really matters. In dry summers, you know, fields with this living cover remained cool and biologically active long after bare or mulched soils hardened and cracked. Why ancient farmers noticed pest and disease suppression is quite fascinating, actually. Historical farm records describe fewer soil-borne diseases where this berry was present. The reason is now clearer, really. Healthy microbial diversity outcompetes pathogens. Additionally, its aromatic compounds discourage some insect pests, creating a subtle but effective protective zone. Why modern agriculture abandoned it? This berry plant fell out of favour not because it failed, but because it resisted mechanization. It spreads horizontally, not vertically. It complicates ploughing, spraying, and uniform harvesting. As tractors replaced hand labour, living ground covers were, labelled inefficient rather than effective. How ancient farmers managed it without losing productivity, that's really quite fascinating. The plant was controlled, not eradicated. Runners were trimmed seasonally, and excess growth was cut and left in place as green mulch. Fruit was harvested casually rather than intensively. The goal was balance, not yield maximization. To apply this today, the plant should be introduced along bed edges, under perennials, between young trees, and on slopes. It really should not replace crops, but support them. So, how can modern growers reintroduce it step by step? Start with a small area rather than entire beds. Allow plants to establish for a full season before judging performance. Avoid deep tillage nearby. Let leaf litter accumulate naturally. Trim runners where access is needed, not everywhere. Over time, the soil beneath the plant will darken, loosen, and, retain moisture longer than adjacent areas. That change, really, is the measure of success. Why does this plant outperform mulch under real conditions? Well, let's find out. Mulch must be reapplied, but this plant renews itself. Mulch, you see, decomposes unevenly, while this plant feeds the soil continuously. Mulch suppresses weeds only temporarily, but this plant competes permanently. And most importantly, mulch does nothing when it washes away, whereas this plant tightens its grip. So you might be wondering, why does this knowledge matter now? Well, in today's world, understanding these traditions and insights is more important than ever. They connect us to our roots, help us navigate the challenges ahead, and honestly remind us of the wisdom that has guided generations before us. It's really about carrying forward what truly matters. As climate instability increases erosion, drought and soil loss, passive solutions are, no longer enough. You see, ancient farmers chose living systems because land survival mattered more than short-term convenience. This berry plant was not forgotten by accident. It was, in fact, set aside by systems that valued speed over, resilience. If you want more historically grounded farming knowledge that honestly still works in real soil, subscribe to Farm Logic and help keep these lessons alive. Share this guide with growers, land stewards and historians who understand that sometimes the most powerful protection is not something you spread on the ground, but something you let grow.